Welcome to Trust the Journey. I'm Melanie Curtis.
And I'm Jason Moledzki.
Our mission is to live, laugh, love, and learn together with you.
We're here to create conscious connections, to contribute, to grow through a practice of openness and honesty, humility and trust, trusting the entire journey.
True that. If you, family, want to find us on the old internet, go to trustthejourney.today. That is our website. It's also our handle on Instagram. And we welcome you to share the episodes that inspire you, to like and comment, to drop us a personal message, to subscribe, give us 5 stars if you're inspired. That all helps us reach more people, and we welcome the feedback as well. If you would like to expand the conversation with us more directly, we have a Patreon group, a private Facebook group called the Trust the Journey Family, which you are welcome to join at any time. Just go to the website, trustthejourney.today, scroll down, donate on Patreon in any amount, and we will get you in there. And we also have just so much gratitude for those Patreon supporters that support us. It makes the show possible. It's helping us grow, and we honor your contribution, and we thank you truly from the bottom of our hearts.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that myself, and this being our 100th episode.
Yeah.
I would like to honor the journey that has got us to this point, and that everybody who is supported us in every way, shape, or form through Patreon or through reaching out or through sharing or through commenting. Like, everybody, thank you so much for everything that you do. We couldn't do this without you. Mel and I would just be hanging out together, just chatting, like whatever. But it's because of you that we have a family and that we have a community and that we're all in this together. So thank you, everybody, for your contributions. And while I'm thanking people, let me thank Kimberly, because right now this show would not be happening if it wasn't for her keeping it tied together behind the scenes. So Kimberly Joy Voice, thank you for becoming part of the Trust the Journey team. And if you need any podcast editing services, reach out to Kimberly at kimberlyjoyvoice@gmail.com. She'll be more than happy to help you out.
Absolutely. Yeah, and if you want to follow Jay and me individually, you can also do that. We share a lot of stuff on social media. We share a lot through the Trust the Journey channel as well. But Jay on Instagram is Jason_Moledzki, and my stuff can all be found at melaniecurtis.com. But Jay said, he mentioned it, this is our 100th freaking episode. What?
That was quick.
How is that even reality? That is insane. Wow.
The time, it's gone very, very quickly and very slowly at the same time, right?
Agreed.
Like, yeah, I have been excited about this, reaching this point. You know, landmarks are a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Like we measure our progress by our birthdays, by our anniversaries, you know, by how many miles we've gone. And the 100 episodes, it's a big mark. I feel like this is a big turning point in our journey. And congratulations to you for showing up the whole time, Melanie, and to our listeners. Thank you for showing up and being part of this. Yes.
Yeah, congratulations to you too, my friend. I mean, this is I say it every time we have any kind of milestone marker, but it is profound what you get from being a part of something that is a bigger project that requires a longer term commitment. And you can only get those benefits from that longer term effort. And I feel like we are very much experiencing that and are still very much in our infancy with this work and this community as well. But oh gosh, it's so cool. It really is cool. And I think it's also important, like you said, to celebrate milestones, to certainly be reflective and extract insight from our experience, and to simply take a moment to allow a celebration of a milestone and to honor what went into getting there. And I just am so thrilled. I am still very, very inspired by what we're doing here, which is why I consistently make the effort to have it as part of my life and my creative pursuit, and my community pursuit, my connecting pursuit, my work pursuit. I feel really good about what we're doing. And certainly, of course, it's not my primary work or primary job either, but it's like this wonderful piece in my life that I'm really grateful to give time and space for.
Absolutely. The value that I've personally received back from putting my time and energy into this program, I'm just going to like personal perspective, has been immeasurable. Mm-hmm. The number of deep and meaningful conversations with friends and strangers that have spurred based on the conversations that have happened here have just been wonderful. It's just one after another after another of people reaching out and saying, hey, thanks. And hey, that made me think, or hey, that really helped. And you know how I feel about, if you've listened to this, you know how I feel about life and connections and about the journey together and the whole concept of walking each other home and being there for each other, and that friendship, companionship, human to human, soul and soul to soul journey. It's really, really the anchoring of this whole experience called life. And I'm so grateful for this show, for Melanie, for the audience, for the entirety of what has occurred because of our decision to just go get out there and just go for it, with like blindly just go forward.
Yep. And persist.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I agree wholly and completely. I mean, I'm not even sure what you want to touch on this episode. I can certainly spend the whole time reflecting. I went through and I sort of thought to myself, what were some of my favorite episodes? Like, what were some of my favorite conversations that we've had, whether that parallels what the audience felt as their favorites may or may not match. But I don't know. I thought that might be insightful to share.
Please.
I think we've said this many times, I'm sure as well, but anything that we have shared around our experience with deeper healing and work with plant medicines has been really profound for me, because I believe so strongly and feel so deeply that our sharing our true stories and the depth of our pain and how we move through to transform is of such high value to the world, where people can hear those stories and not feel alone, and also potentially be inspired into possibility for themselves, whether it's with plant medicine or a different modality of healing, that's fine. And as always, the sharing about that is for informational purposes only. The disclaimer is real and true. We invite people to get their own information from the professionals that are in their worlds. But I say that because that work helps us access those deeper shares. And that feels always to me like a profound contribution, both in my own sharing of it, but also in people receiving it as well. So that's the first thing I wrote down. And I have more on my list, but I'll let you respond.
I'm obviously, we have both individually been personally impacted in very powerful ways by our experiences with meditation and medicine through plant medicines. And it has completely veered our paths in life towards deeper understandings of ourselves. And we are not facilitators of plant medicine ceremonies. We do not offer this in any way, shape, or form. We've been blessed with the opportunity to have been able to experience these ourselves. And it has definitely been one of the greatest values I've ever received in my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same.
And being able to share that openly, in a place where this was something of taboo. And, to be honest, I can just be honest, Melanie and I are like, and we're scared. Like, should we talk about this? Is this something that's okay to talk about? There's a lot of different people with a lot of different opinions in the world. And sometimes it's scary to be open about things. And that's the whole ride of Trust the Journey, is that willingness to be vulnerable about something that we're not maybe fully confident about, or can be easily judged. And it's scary to say, yeah, I've been looking at something and I don't know the answers, but I want to talk about it. I want to talk about it because it's of enough value that it needs to be spoken about.
Yeah.
That our own personal experiences have driven us to say this needs to be talked about. We can't just leave it on the sideline or a quiet conversation. It's got to be spoken about in a public forum. And when I look, and I have, I'm a statistics guy. I love numbers and data and science and physics. Physics is so fun. And I love understanding the mind and the body and myself and each other and communication. And I like to study how many times I say in a conversation. When I look at our episodes, I can see some of the most listened episodes are the ones referring to plant medicines, ayahuascas, ceremonies, sacraments, these deeper dives into self. Mm-hmm. And there's a real statement there that the audience is on the same page in their curiosity towards what does these really mean to us? What else is there? What can we get to, and what are the possible tools available to us to do that? Yeah,
which takes me to one of the other things that I had on my list as one of my favorites, or some of my favorite veins of sharing, is about self-expression, about art, and your episode sharing about Queen Jasmine. Those are absolutely some of my most favorite because, again, they are touching on this concept that helps us access that freedom of our souls, that freedom and this safe exploration of quote unquote who we are. And I love that as a model. And that's one of the things I think we try to do here on Trust the Journey, is to be brave and be willing to go there in conversation on the things that scare us. And so that's like another vein of the sharing was the fear. So like the fear episodes, those were all really good because there's this universal connectedness around that experience as humans. And then the sort of light side of that of what is self-expression? What does being brave in that way look like? Those conversations really inspired me.
Yeah. No doubt. You just triggered a thought. And when we talked about art, and I remember going on this rant.
Loved that one.
Just rant. I'm just like, rah, like there's so much to talk about here.
I know.
And I had no idea that this is hiding inside, that this needs to be spoken about at such like passionate levels. There's so much to express there. And I think the lesson in that comes with just creating the space to talk, like just by setting up a boundary to say, okay, in this block of time, we're going to talk about a topic and throw a topic on the table. Suddenly there's all this room to expound upon it in profound ways that are unknown to ourselves until that space is held for that topic to be discussed. And I'm going to reflect this into a personal experience, which I've been recently unfolding, and that is doing so in my personal life with people, which is like planting this particular, it's like putting a shovel in the ground and like pulling a space to plant a seed to say, here is the container for conversation. And doing this with regularity, and in the same way that our episodes have a topic, placing those topics into interpersonal relationships, whether it's with coworkers, friends, partners, family, whatever that is, but making a space and a container to go, okay, hey, let's talk.
I love it.
And let's just talk. And it is serving me so well in my friendships, in my relationships, in this deepening of this life journey to say, I'll say it again. Nobody knows what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Of course not.
People claim to know what's going on. I may claim to know what's going on, but nobody knows what's going on. Yep. So let's just be open and honest and true about who we are to each other. And it's going to be so much easier. Yeah. And let's just hold the space to talk.
I love that as a suggestion to listeners for something very actionable and specific that they can do. You know, because like if we talk about depth and connection and wanting to create conscious connections and the things that we value here, there begs the question of, great, well, how do I do that? And so, yeah, we're modeling that by going, we are holding space for a conversation and we are putting a topic on the table and we are meeting that topic openly and honestly and vulnerably. Cool. Great. And with lightness and with levity and with love. And that's, I'm glad you specifically called that out as like, hey, team, family, we can do this outside of listening to a podcast. You can go, hey, mom, what are your thoughts on freedom? What does freedom mean to you? Or, hey, you know, BFF or whatever, or hey, you know, person I just met, what do you think of self-expression? When you think of self-expression, what comes to mind for you? It's such a great idea, and it's such an easily actionable thing that people can take away.
It's as simple as having coffee together, sitting down and having a conversation. But instead of just talking about something outside of ourselves, like the weather or politics or some other crap, let's talk about ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, let's talk about ourselves and let's be willing to speak the truths that are inside of us that need so badly to be spoken about, you know, and that freedom, that practice, like the more I'm going to just say that this show has been key as a practice. This is now on air, this is 100 times. Behind the scenes are like 125 times, right? Of actually recording and practicing this of, I'm going to sit down with a trusted friend and we're going to discuss something that's scary or uncomfortable or I love or I'm passionate about or that is important to me or that I don't know how to figure out or something, you know, we're going to talk about something. And we're going to dig deeper under and find out what's in there just for the pure curiosity. And you can hear how passionate I am about it. I'm already like observing. I'm like, I love being curious. Being curious is fun. Right.
Oh,
and then there's no risk if we've made the space to talk about it. We're like, okay, we may have different opinions. We might have different feelings. We might come to different ends of the conversation, but that doesn't mean that we feel any differently about each other. You know, like we just have a space to converse around a particular topic and then take that away and sit on it and sit with it and see how we feel about those different points of views or what now that we've opened it, now that the can's open.
Yeah.
Right. It's so much different.
Yeah. Well, and the willingness to, like you said, put something into a space that we maybe wouldn't typically talk about, or we would have some reservations or anxieties going toward. Like another one on my list was our spiritual journeys episodes, where you and I both took turns really deep diving, sharing our stories about our spiritual journeys. I love that personally because, of course, the sharing itself is healing and wonderful, but I love it from the perspective of contribution because I work with a lot of type A people. I'm that recovering type A who, you know, was very outwardly focused, achievement oriented, very empathetic and emotional and connected, but really struggled being able to rest with my emotional self and struggled controlling my emotional self, quote unquote, but meaning like honoring it and not being afraid of feelings and stuff like that. And so those particular episodes, I think, are such a beautiful example of lifting something up that is not typically looked at as a crucial element to quote unquote success. And I talk about this a lot now in the work that I do, life coaching and stuff like that, where we actually go there, like, what is your spiritual quote unquote practice? And what is your spiritual journey? Do you even think about that? Not that you need to or have to, but some people don't even think about it because they have, limiting thought from society or their upbringing or whatever in the way. But then when we start to be allowed to talk about a spiritual journey, it ends up supporting us in a way that is so profound and so amazingly powerful to actually elevate the skills that are really good. Like, my type A skills are excellent. I get a lot of shit done and I'm very goal-oriented, and I love that about myself. But without a spiritual practice, without a self-love practice, I am heading for disaster when I only prioritize that part of me. And so I loved that we did that, and that we elevate spiritual journeys and practices as something to really care about and consider for oneself.
Yeah, I can't help but speak towards the recent episode of Walking Each Other Home, where you held space for me and gave me the opportunity to share into that deeper connection of friendship and vulnerability and emotions and all the challenges of like trying to speak towards that deep spiritual journey, because what's more spiritual than our own mortality and or immortality, however you choose to view things. And putting that topic on the table and speaking about losing, one of my best friends, a long time, just soulmate, and the number of people who've reached out to me directly to speak up with regards to that episode specifically has been overwhelming. And I'm incredibly grateful for both the opportunity to have the space to speak and share my own personal perspective on spirituality and on mortality and on this journey, but to also hold that space for others to observe, relate, connect to, and engage that perspective, because it's scary, I don't know how many times in this life I've been scared, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of times,
A lot of times.
Okay, people, do you think tough guy Moledzki got all his shit together? Fuck no.
Yeah.
Fucking scared sometimes, man. Like really freaked the fuck out and trying to figure out what to do. And especially when, it's confusing, like really scary and confusing sometimes, and having the freedom and the feeling of safety, the feeling of security to be able to just share and just know that whatever's being said is going to be received in a loving way is incredibly powerful.
Yeah. And I love that you brought that episode up, because that was on my list. The spaces being held for others, that the walking each other home and the conscious connections, like actually now opening our space up to new voices and making it, well, and having those people know what space they are stepping into, that this is a space of earnest depth and emotional safety. And we encourage people to meet us there. And that is so exciting to me and beautiful. And just, I'm so thrilled that we are now sharing our platform with other people that we love and admire and respect, and want to help them share their gifts with the world by sharing their simple selves and their simple stories.
Yeah, no doubt. My heart flutters a little bit, I feel that warmth of connection through the people who trust us, and that trust, it's right in the very top of the name of the show.
Yeah.
It starts with trust, right? It literally starts with trust. And that is what allows for everything else to occur. Is we have to be willing to trust. We have to be willing to say, okay, I'm going to trust that this is going to be okay, even if I don't necessarily feel that way. And I'll be completely honest that episode 90, I think it's 90, Queen Jasmine.
Yeah.
I did not feel okay.
Yeah.
Going into that episode.
Absolutely understandable.
Absolutely terrified going into that,
Mm-hmm.
Whew.
Which is one of the reasons why I love it so much, is that it was so brave. And I imagine whether you heard from people or not, I have every confidence that it makes and is making and will continue to make a huge difference.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. It's definitely made a difference in my life. And I know that the people who have reached out to me, it's definitely made a difference in theirs. I just, out of my own curiosity, I glanced over to see how active we've been. And we've recently passed 41,000 listens.
I love that you're into the stats, because there's no way I would look at this is the beauty of our partnership.
It astounds me, though. I can't even imagine what that looks like to, like, okay, how many people is that? Or how many times, like, okay, how many people have to stand in a group to have 40,000? I'm like, wow, that's a lot, Yeah. And knowing that our voice is getting out there, I want to speak towards this, knowing that, that our voice is being heard by people who value it, really forces me to be more aware of what I'm saying and why I'm saying it.
Absolutely.
And that practice itself isn't just on this show. It's an all the time thing. So this kind of on-air version of me is not different than the off-air version.
Yep.
That's the whole point, right? That I'm learning as a person, I'm being vulnerable here, learning as a person to be more aware and more conscious of what I'm saying, why I'm saying it, what the deeper meaning or value is behind it, and then learning to check myself so that I don't say stupid shit that I regret later, or that affects people in a negative way, or offends people, truly is offending to people, and it's so easy to be unconscious of all that. And the microphone and the camera, they bring that right up to the forefront. And then also being open to receiving the feedback from people who either do or do not like what one of us might have to say is a really, the practice of receiving that feedback means putting the ego aside.
Absolutely. The mirror can be scary.
Yeah. It's an honest reflection, right? Unless you go, oh, what am I doing? Speaking out of my ass here, or am I speaking from my heart? Am I really truly being the version of me that I want to be, or am I, holding up a painting that says this is the version of you I want you to see?
Yeah.
Kind of thing,
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. And I've trust the journey for me being a personal brand, quote unquote, like having to be out in the world, using my voice on my various social media channels, in the column that I wrote for 11 years, and the books that I've published. I had quite a bit of practice before stepping into this space of sort of getting comfortable with the fact that I could be, and certainly would be, judged by people receiving me in the public sphere. And there's something really powerful about that helps us heal that people-pleasing, need to fit in thing. I think it can also bolster it if you aren't careful. You know what I mean? If you're not being mindful about self-reflection and is this aligned? What am I saying? Is this aligned with my values? Such that when you do get the mirror held up to you and you get feedback, you can really, with some clarity and confidence, receive the feedback like you're saying, and either accept it and improve, do better, because it's something you need to hear to improve and do better, or to let it go and go, that's not for me, because I feel very peaceful and in alignment, and I know myself enough to say that's not for me.
Thank you for showing up as you are, your well-practiced version of self, which is the authentic Melanie Curtis.
Right.
Like, we could literally...
Took a while.
Yeah.
Still working on it.
The authentic Melanie Curtis is a beautiful person, and the practice that you've been in to be able to show up as the authentic version of you is well appreciated and adored, and an example. And this is the reason why that you're so successful in the areas that you endeavor into, and it's because of that authenticity.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, my friend. And I see you stepping into that yourself. Not that you weren't a public figure before Trust the Journey, but this is a different version of being a public figure when you are using your voice and you are magnifying and expanding on the messages that you are known for in the world. So I acknowledge the bravery that takes. And I certainly acknowledge the initiating, your effort to initiate this idea. You know, again, I can't not on our 100th episode go back to the very start where you emailed me and said, hey, I think we should maybe work together. What do you think? You know, like, thank you. Thank you so much for sending that. Like, that has changed my life in a beautiful, wonderful way. Like, I don't even know what to say. Like, obviously I had to say yes and step in and go, but you started this, and I'm so grateful for that, and for you, and for every bit of how you show up as well, growing into the person that you are now and are continuing to become.
Thanks, Mel.
You're welcome.
You know, I gotta say, it's an example of listen to your instincts, because I just impulsively sent you a message.
I know. I love it.
And I did the same thing recently with another. I woke up in the middle of the night and I sent a message to somebody, you know, I'm like, something just says there's a path here, right? Like, don't ignore this feeling, you know?
Yep.
So if that inkling is inside of you, and it's in your gut is where it is, you know, it's down inside in your gut, and it says, you know, go for it, then what do you have to lose? And that's kind of the whole version of self that I've been trying to go with here is, what the fuck do you have to lose? Right?
Totally.
What am I going to do? Die after it's all over? Yes. Then what am I going to do? Care about what people think about me afterwards?
Right.
No, I'm going to care about what people think now based on who I actually am now.
Yeah.
And this whole journey of growing into self and being a vulnerable example of like, okay, far from perfect, lots of challenges, grown up with challenges, live with challenges, still have challenges. That's okay. That's normal. That's part of everybody's life. And I'm totally okay with saying, fuck it. I'm the guy who has the issues and needs to work on them, you know?
And then you realize when you say that, oh, everyone has that. Oh, it's everyone. Oh, it's not just me. It literally is everyone. And that's the beauty, again, with the life coaching work that I do. I've had such an amazing breadth of experience getting to bear witness to people's struggle, thinking they are the most suckiest one, that they are the one with the most possible issues. And it's just not true. Everyone has challenges, and they are all valid, and they are all normal, like truly.
Absolutely. I wanted to touch on something that you brought up in your last little section there.
Yeah.
And it is this has been found. The reason why it's so important I want to talk about it is because it's been foundational to our journey. And it is what has got us to here, wherever here is.
Right here.
Wherever here is.
Welcome, family. You're here with us.
setting up and developing and recognizing and clarifying our values, our mission, and our vision for who we are and what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Why we're doing it is what has gotten us here.
Yep.
There is no doubt in my mind that the paragraph that we read to you every single time at the beginning of the show is our mission statement.
Yep.
That is what drives our decision making every step of the way. When we go, oh, should we talk about this or should we talk about that? Or how should we? When we have this guiding principles that drive. No, we have a mission. This is what we're going to do this because this falls in this category and this is what we're about. And I can't look over that. It's right there at the top of the list of important things to do when establishing something that's important. It's got to have a vision. It's got to have values, purpose, mission, whatever, pick an adjective.
Yeah.
Why?
Absolutely.
The word is why.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
For sure. And it makes decision making easier. It makes generating motivation easier. If you are connected to your mission and you are aligned with the values that you set forth, you will not want for motivation. Maybe it will wax and wane here and there, but on the bigger picture, the motivation will be there. There's no way. You and I have talked plenty of times about how fucking busy we are and how much we have on our plates and how overwhelmed we are. That's the last version of the episode that I put on my list, was like the ones where we're just like showing up for a mutual therapy session because we're like totally overwhelmed. Because how much more real can you get than that? But like, why on earth did this not fall off of our plates? Why did it, and it's not that we don't take breaks and we don't manage our schedules to give ourselves some open time to deal with other stuff in a more focused way. We, of course, do that. But it hasn't fallen off the plate, for me at least, because I am very much energetically, emotionally connected to our mission, and I believe in it deeply, and that's where my motivation stems from. That's why when I'm exhausted and the last thing I want to do is learn how to get new hardware for the guests that I want to have on the show, and I don't know what audio and editing software to use. Oh, this person has a PC, this person has a Mac, I don't know. Why do I persist through those sort of seemingly silly details? It's because of the underlying mission.
And just a quick reminder, this is an unpaid thing. We don't make a penny on this.
Yes.
We pay to produce this show.
Yes.
Right? We don't do this because we make a salary out of it. It is entirely something that we invest into with energy and finances and time on a weekly basis. Mm-hmm. And I can mirror exactly what you're saying, in that the value that comes back from passionately investing into something that has a clear mission, a clear direction, a clear statement about what the value in return is. And it's not the paycheck, right? It's not the paycheck, because you can work your ass off your whole life for a paycheck and still end up being miserable. And I want to say that the reason why 100 episodes later, we're still here diving in when the calendar is full of other things that actually make money or that have, a lot of other values connected to them, is the practice of openness, honesty, vulnerability, humility, and trust is a spiritual practice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Think about, even if we think about it as a skill set, even if you're like, oh, I can't even go to the spiritual, I'm not quite there yet, Mel and Jay. It's too fluffy for me. Can't go there. If you if it's too woo, whatever. Even if we think about it as simply a skill set for connection and fulfillment, right? Actually being practiced at having depth of conversation and being practiced at earnest curiosity, being practiced at simply saying what we are thinking and or feeling is a huge value. Huge value. Going back to that thing that you suggested about other people and what they can do, but like that is a big value that shows up in every other space of our lives as an elevated skill.
Emotional availability.
Mm-hmm.
That's, for me, that has not always been something that I attain. I have not always been emotionally available because I have not always had a skill set that was practiced and developed enough to be able to allow that to be the case. And because of this practice, amongst many others, that skill set of being emotionally available and willing to say, this is actually how I feel. This is actually where I am. This is actually how things are for me in life right now, is changing everything in my life.
Yeah.
This practice of vulnerability and honesty, openness and humility, all these things, that's changing how I perceive myself, how others perceive me, how I receive others, and how they receive me.
Yeah.
And all for the positive, incredibly for the positive. I cannot understate. No, I cannot overstate. I am dyslexic. I continue to be. It gets worse it's getting worse as I get older. Let's just be honest.
Perfect.
Here. My handwriting is going downhill, and spelling is a disaster. And I'm like trying to do more and more things, and my weaknesses are becoming more and more apparent. Also, strengths.
Yes.
The value of practicing being honest and vulnerable and being, imperfect and just being okay with it means my friendships, the relationships in life are getting so much deeper, so important, so rich, so full. And the gratitude then that gratitude cycle starts up again.
Yeah.
Right. And then off it goes on this. It's really, yeah.
I think part of that too, which I want to make sure we highlight, is not only our practice of being that and sharing vulnerably and openly and honestly and with humility, also being able to hold the space for other people's feelings, fears, and expressions, whatever they might be, because it is very normal, very common for people to feel uncomfortable when emotion is being expressed. Like, how many times have I cried on the show, right? Where earnest emotion is coming up and you're able to be gently patient and honoring of that expression and acknowledging of that expression versus being like, oh, I hope Mel's, I wish she would stop crying. Like, you know what I mean? Like kind of tightening in discomfort at the expression of someone's emotion. That can be equally, if not more so. I think they're actually very, very much connected, but it can be a very important skill set as well to be absolutely peaceful and okay with holding that space and being patient for someone's emotions to be present in your space.
Well, that is in the statement too, right? Our practice, right? It is a practice, and showing up repeatedly to do anything over and over again, inevitably you're going to get better at it.
Yeah.
At least you're going to grow. Even if you don't get, you're going to grow to understand it. We get a better broader picture of what's going on. Any endeavor that we go into with the tunnel vision, thinking we know what we're headed for. And then the more time we spend there, the more and more and more and more and more our field of vision expands, and we can truly get a bigger picture of what is actually going on. And, you know, I'm grateful because I can admit I have not always been excellent at receiving other people's emotions.
Mm-hmm. Neither have I. Who is?
There are plenty of times when I continue to struggle with emotional interactions. You know, we're very emotional beings. And when emotions flare, we tend to react.
Sure.
And that just the simple awareness of the reaction is a huge stepping stone. It's a massive, massive step in this direction of personal growth.
Yep.
I absolutely value, and that's even too small of a word, like being able to see, feel, hear, observe, and understand that I'm reacting to whatever else is occurring, whatever's triggering me, whether it's somebody else's emotions or whether it's something that occurred around me. I woke up this morning, there's no water in the faucet. And how do I react to this? Like, do I get angry and throw a shit fit, or do I just go, oh, there's no water. Let me figure out why, and then when I get on the phone with the person, do I blow my lid at them, or do I just go, oh, okay, cool. Thanks. It'll be, hopefully it's back on when it's supposed to be,
Yeah.
I had an incident a couple days ago where I was parked in a random parking lot. I'd gone out for breakfast with some friends, and it was really nice to spend some time with some good friends. And we had a long brunch, and then I went to my car afterwards, and we had driven separately. And I sat down in my car, and I had my door half open, and there was a car parked next to me, and a gust of wind caught my car door and blew it into the car next to me. And it startled the people who they were still in their car. They had just pulled in, and it startled them. And immediately I was concerned.
Yeah.
Because my car door blew open and hit their door, and I could have caused damage to both vehicles. And I love my car. I'm not afraid to say it. I love my fucking car. It's so fun.
You're allowed.
I'm allowed to love it. It's fine. One day it'll be gone, and so will I, and that's okay. Yep. But I don't want to scratch this guy's car. But he did the typical thing of like, like just like blew his top instantly.
Oh no.
And just freaked out. And his wife was in the passenger seat, and she had observed what had occurred. I was just sitting in my car with the door half open, and a gust of wind had caught it. And it was my immediate reaction. Now I have to say, I'm really proud of myself. I didn't react to this person's emotional response to a act of God, as it would be called in a court of law.
Right.
And like, nobody's at fault here. The wind blew the door. Right.
Yeah.
So I didn't respond to his emotional reaction. I didn't respond to her opposite reaction. I observed everything that was going on, and I was able to approach the situation from a perspective that's going to allow me to diffuse and, neutralize whatever's occurring. And that's the skill set. I'm like, I'm almost 50 years old now. I'm finally growing up and learning how to not be highly emotionally involved in every little freaking thing that happens. I don't need to lose my shit just because some butthead over there just had a hot-headed incident, whatever.
And you're also allowed to use the word butthead.
Yeah, because he was kind of being a butthead about it,
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, God, I could go on, but I just love that we've persevered through the growth process of all of it, you know, obviously as ourselves, as people, like we've been talking about, and also on the more granular side of the house, of the actual processes. You know, that's a real part of making something like this possible. And I think when we are, you know, really growth minded and spiritually seeking, which is so important, as we've said, it can be easy to only be on that side of the house. And I think we do a really good job of also being smart business people as well, creating our systems, having our Google Drive, having our technology in place, trying to improve it. It's, again, I say business, but I just mean, you know, the entrepreneurial nature of building something and using pieces of technology and systems to help it grow and have a foundation that it can grow on. I mean, certainly we can improve on that too. I more just want to acknowledge that part, because I think it can be easy to look at something like this from the outside and think it's just showing up on Zoom and pressing record, and then you've got a podcast. There's a lot more that goes into it. And that doesn't mean that is not meant to dissuade people. It's more to just enlighten people to the realities of doing something like this. And it's all totally doable. It's all completely and totally possible. It's more just don't go into anything with a rose-colored glasses on. Be mindful of what actually goes into, quote unquote, the work. And as it relates to this podcast, it means pieces of technology and stuff like that behind the scenes.
I'm scared to go back and listen to some of the early episodes because the audio was so bad. Because we didn't have any good equipment yet. We didn't know how to set things up, and we're like, whatever, you know. But it's also really important to recognize our top 3 episodes: first steps and never being ready.
Nice. That's awesome. And that's an early episode, like episode 6 or something.
It's episode 5. Nice. Yeah. First steps and never being ready. And that is it. That's it. Like, just go for it, you know, go for it. I'm really glad that we did and do and continue to. And I'm really excited to see where this is going to go. Yeah. Because I don't see this ending anytime soon. Yep. We continue to expand upon the journey as it feels right to do so. And I think we have a really good balance in our partnership here with respect to our individual lives and how many other commitments we have and which are important to us. And then how we choose to value, trust the journey, and where it fits within that relationship structure to all the other elements in life. And it definitely holds a very strong position. Like, I'm not going to miss a meeting. I'm not going to miss a recording. Yep. If it's on the calendar, we got to get to it. It's a vitally important piece of my life. And that means that you, the listener, are a vitally important piece of my life, because this isn't just Mel and I talking to each other. This is a multi-way interaction where what is occurring is involves you. It involves you, the listener. And you're really making me think about something important right now. So thank you. Yeah. Well, that's something I wrote down too. And I wrote it down in all caps, is this concept of service, of being of service in some way. And it feels to me like a win-win, as in I get value from what we do here. Duh. We've talked a lot about that. And I hugely am motivated by the fact that a lot of times it can be, there's potential, not that it's every time we talk and every time we put an episode out, it's going to be of service to a listener, but
the fact that there's even a chance that it will be of service to someone and will help someone else, that very much motivates me. Like, that fulfills me deeply to know. And that's why when we get feedback from you all listening, whether a show has helped you or moved you, or whether you're like, wow, this was perfect for my sister, I shared it, or whatever, or whether like, hey, I want to give you this feedback, all of that is so valuable and feels like such high service to the world that you and we are in this collaborative contribution to the world. And that excites me a lot.
Yeah, I'm absolutely on the same page. It's all a big reflection, right? Like, I consume a fairly large amount of media from people who are in the same place where their conscious effort in producing content is in service.
Yes.
Where what is being shared is designed to help the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body, our connected experience, understanding each other, communicating, learning about ourselves. You know, I love absorbing all this information that's out there and shared by everybody, and not just regurgitating it, but really processing it, like taking it in personally and saying, okay, I listened to this deep podcast the other day. Maybe it was Russell Brand, or maybe it was Andrew Huberman, or maybe it was Tim Ferriss, or maybe it was one of my favorite podcasts.
Yeah.
And somebody said something that really stuck with me. And now whatever was shared it's sitting there, and it's that seed that's planted inside as far as an idea or a perspective, and it's helping me to grow and gain more potential ways to look at my own journey through life and others, and my own patience. I have to say, my journey is so much easier now because I have more patience for others, because of learning perspective, because of being able to learn to empathize and relate, and to say, okay, I get it why the guy whose car I hit, why he blew his top. Yeah. Because I slammed his car door, you know? So I relate to that in a way that allows me to empathize, be there with the person, and understand their perspective. And now that's changing me. It's changing the whole thing. And we have this, I'm going to drag my thoughts out for a second, wait for them to come out. We have this, there's an effect that occurs in nature where in magnetism you see it, and in bioorganisms you see it. And it's when one thing starts to change, the one next to it has the tendency to change as well. So it's a ripple effect. It goes outward. So cells will do this, you know, like it can happen in a positive and a negative way, either direction. If there's a cancer cell, the one next to it can turn into a cancer cell, and the one next to it can turn into a cancer cell, but that can also heal in the other direction. And so we're not necessarily just monkeys repeating what else somebody else has said, but we're literally changing ourselves as a result of what we consume, whether that's our food or our media or our interaction with others, our interaction with nature, our entire interaction with ourselves is transforming who we are as individuals. And that is transforming the people around us, and the people around us are all having the same experience. So there's this thing with magnetism, and you push one magnet near another one and it goes whoop, and it spins around, right? And the poles align, and this happens. We're also charged with magnet. We're also electrical beings, and all of our cells have little compasses inside them, and they do the same thing. So you see it inside of crowds, inside of any group of people, that a wave of energy will move through a group. And so we have a responsibility to be aware of that. I feel a responsibility to be aware of that, and to know that if my needle of my compass is swinging in one direction or another, it's going to swing the energy of those around me in the same way.
Yes.
And that to me is that concept of service of
absolutely.
Like, be self-aware, understand that what I'm doing is affecting the people around me, and that that's also going to affect their journey, and be conscious to make it in the positive, in the right direction.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
It's that idea of how do we leave the world a better place? How do we leave every person better than we found them? You know, and not that we can necessarily know specific outcomes like that, but we can, from our values, like we mentioned earlier, consider what we would guess is the best way to have a chance of being that, you know? So like, I believe, right, showing up with integrity, with honesty, with all the values that we hold dear, that to me feels like the avenue to the highest contribution to myself, others in the world. And so that's like, for me, the service is very much it's baked into the values, that I believe through those values is how I can be of highest service.
I absolutely agree. I don't know any other way. You know, look at all the spiritual practices, look at all the vocations. What can we do to contribute to the world? I can build a rocket that takes us to space, or I can design a medicine that saves lives, or I can, you know, found a school that teaches. But I think learning about ourselves and being the most honest version of ourselves is really the most powerful way to contribute.
Ripples.
You know? Ripples.
Ripples. That's the thing. And I think with our show, at least we do our best to throw a little bit bigger stone into the proverbial pond, you know? I think that's what it feels like, a little bit of an effort to throw just a little bit bigger stone. Yeah.
Some days are bigger than others, you know. Like, I can be completely honest and say that there's been plenty of episodes where we've done our best to, you know, say, what can we come up with right now that's really going to offer value to the world? And, you know, maybe it's not the, you know, most decadent meal that we've had, but not everyone's going to be. And like, not every day is richly fulfilled, you know.
Right.
Some days are magical and have the most amazing wow experiences in them. And other days are just kind of grinding along, you know?
Just and I think that shows up in the long term too. The long-term integrity of follow through and showing up is knowing that, is being okay with that. And again, the bravery of being willing to be seen for the episodes that are okay, because we know the ones that are like, fuck yeah, that was a good one, are coming. You know, they're part of it. But if we don't do the ones that are like, okay, it's rare that the awesome ones, the fuck yeah ones, will come either.
Well, Mel.
Yeah. 100. What?
Happy 100.
Fuck yeah. Go team.
Yeah.
I'm so freaking proud of us. I am thrilled for the future. I too am excited to see where we take this. I'm super excited to have more guests on Conscious Connections and hear more from Walking Each Other Home. That thrills me. And everyone listening, please let us know if you have thoughts, if you have ideas or feedback or just anything for us as we go forward into the next 100. We would love to hear from you. Just DM us on Instagram, trustthejourney.today, and that's probably the best place to reach us, or certainly reach out to Jay or me individually if you want to do that as well.
Yeah, I always really, truly appreciate every single person who reaches out in any way, shape, or form. Thank you very much for those conscious connections.
Yes.
And I truly want to, once again, directly send some gratitude to our Patreon supporters, because without you, this would not be happening. And I would like to encourage anybody who does have the ability, or it does feel so inspired, to help support through Patreon. We would greatly appreciate that, and it would be going to a great cause. You can go to trustthejourney.today. scroll down to the bottom of the page there, and you'll see the button that says donate on Patreon. And when you donate, you get a membership to the Trust the Journey family, or there's so many beautiful folks. And I'm so proud of everybody in there for making when our family members also vulnerably share into that group and put their own emotional being on the line and say, here's where I am right now. I'm really uncomfortable with saying this, but this is where I'm at. I am so proud of all of you. You're so wonderful, and I can't wait to have more of you in that family. And I encourage all of you to take that risk. Go for it.
Yeah, ditto. Absolutely ditto. You certainly can join, and if it's not for you, you can certainly leave again. But if you're thinking about it, if you're like, maybe that would help me, or maybe that would be a good part of my support team, give it a try. You're welcome, absolutely welcome to join, and absolutely welcome to leave if it's not for you. But I echo everything that you said, Jay, about our Patreon supporters and everything like that, of course. And Kim, we love you. Thank you so much for helping us put out really high quality audio. We appreciate you. For people who want that audio editing or video editing, KimberlyJoyVoice@gmail.com. She's the bomb.
Well,
to the next 100.
Here's to the next 100. Yeah.
We love you all so much. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you so much. We love you.